Good evening, and welcome to the October 26th, 2021 regular school board meeting, which I now call to order. This evening, our invocation will be given by Pastor Joe Adams from Christ the King Lutheran Church in Largo. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chairman Mrs. Long and the National Anthem performed by the Countryside High School Varsity Chorus under the direction of Christy King. Would you please stand?
Welcome. Thank you. Let us pray. Oh Lord Jesus, we praise you and thank you for this day and for your many blessings of life. Lord, I thank you for these men and women who have been elected to serve on this school board. I thank you for their heart and their desire for the very best of the children of this community, that they would receive the best possible education. And yet, Lord, we live in trying times with so many different opinions and expectations of our school, of our teachers, of our students. And what's trying is that we all think and believe that our opinion and expectations are the right ones, which, Lord, you know leads to dissension and the inability to work together. Lord, I lift before your throne of grace this evening this school board, administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And I ask that your Holy Spirit would fill their hearts, granting them love for one another, the same love that you have shown to us. I ask for wisdom to listen to one another, discernment, and the ability to reason together and make the best possible decision, which may or may not be popular, that meets the needs of the children and parents of this community. And I pray it all in your most precious name, Jesus. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets ran clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home?
Good evening. My name is Christy King. I'm the choral director at Countryside High School, and we'd like to thank you for having us this evening. This is our varsity chorus, and the next song we'll be performing is Evergreen Tree by Jerry Estes. Thank you again for having us.
It happens every year with the fading of autumn's golden glow. The signs of change appear, ushered in as the bitter winds of winter blow. As the leafy curtain falls, the lonely landscape is revealed. One tree stands strong and tall, as in the barren fields. When the song, just like that brave little evergreen tree, evergreen may you always be. Evergreen, strong and lovely tree. Winds may be blowing, but you stand strong. For you know you will be always. You will be always and forever green. Evergreen tree.
All right, thank you to the chorus as well as Pastor Adams. Thank you very much for starting our meeting on a good note. Every year, Pinellas County Schools selects an individual to receive a Principal Achievement Award for outstanding leadership, and a second individual to receive the Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award. This year, Suzanne Hester, principal at Skyview Elementary, and Dawn Lewis, assistant principal at Bay Point Elementary, were chosen to receive these honors. So let's watch this video and see how much they deserve this recognition.
I was out of this world of surprise, a little bit relieved because I heard too much commotion out here, and commotion means learning's not happening, so that's my area. I work with a lot of great assistant principals that I take a lot of great things from, and we all work very hard, and just to be honored in this way is just simply amazing. Thank you so much, guys! Thank you! They really make me happy in everything they do. Every game they make, every word they can read that they couldn't read when they got here this morning. That's why I do this every single day. I am very excited. I'm elated. I've never been so honored in all my life.
It is my pleasure to announce you are Pinellas County School District's Principal of the Year.
Blown away, full of love.
Congratulations.
Awesome. It's a pleasure always to serve children and to help them become educated and to work with the staff, our team, our families. I'm overwhelmed. We want them to leave grade level knowing what they need to know. We want them to be challenged and ready to take on the next year.
Yeah, and congratulations and thank you to Principal Hester and Assistant Principal Lewis for their outstanding service to our schools and our students. We look forward to hearing more from them a little bit later in the agenda. So we'll have introductions this evening from the professional and community organization representatives. Beth Harrodine, the Director of Strategic Communications, will do that honor for us.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. It's my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, President Nancy Velarde, Lindsay Blankenbaker, the new Executive Director for PCTA and PESPA, and from the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Maria Cantonis. Also this evening, we will have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibilities Committee from Countryside High School. Please welcome Olivia Bleachington and Ariana Vizcaya, along with their principal, Taylor Henderson. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Olivia Bleachington, and I'm a senior at Countryside High School this year. I'm involved in student government, our Black Student Union, and Key Club, as well as numerous other clubs.
Hi, my name is Ariana, and I'm in 10th grade. I'm involved in swimming and diving. I'm also in Marine Biology Club and Spanish Honor Society. Thank you for providing us in time this evening to share with you some of the great things that are happening in the historic Countryside High School. From my area and I, under the leadership of Dr. Christine Gonzalez and our one superintendent, and Taylor Henderson, our principal. Our school vision is 100% student success, and we're committed to educate and prepare all students for a career.
Countryside High School is in its 43rd year and has developed a rich school tradition, supportive alumni and surrounding community, attractive academic programs, and a positive school culture and climate. Our beautiful campus is on the corner of State Road 580 and McMullen Booth Road, and our school is regarded as one of the most pristine in Pinellas County. Our campus remains adorned with native palms, oak trees, dogwood trees, and lush grounds. New campus updates include a recent installation of a new air conditioning chiller and a new concourse floor to be added in early 2022. Our theater also received a new projection lighting system in 2020, and we continue to have numerous evening performances in our outdoor Cougar Arts Pavilion. Home to the 13-time state champions, Cougars Countryside High School is proud of what we have accomplished in 43 years in northeastern Clearwater. We continue to focus our vision of our school. Countryside has developed rich traditions and great partnerships with both the City of Clearwater and the City of Safety Harbor. Our school is active on the Clearwater Achievement Council and the City of Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce. Countryside High School students are active in both communities, and our partnerships are mutually beneficial. Countryside's notable alumni include former NBA players Matthew Geiger and Andrew DeClerc, current City of Clearwater Mayor Frank Hibbard, former Cougar and current Olympian gold medalist and Florida Gator swimmer Bobby Fink, who recently won 2 gold medals at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Countryside High School has a current population of about 1,800 students this year and was one of the most highly selected schools this past year with nearly 600 students. Many of our current students had parents who attended Countryside High School, and we have over 20 staff members that are alumni. It is truly a great time to be a Cougar. Our main feeder school remains Safety Harbor Middle School, but we also have many students from surrounding schools such as Carwise Middle, Palm Harbor Middle, Clearwater Fundamental, and Oak Grove Middle. We frequently participate in joint performing arts events with our feeder schools and have great relationships with our future Cougars. Lila Davis Elementary is one of our niece schools as we continue to foster long-lasting relationships with the greater Countryside community.
Countryside High School diverse student population remains one of our school's unique strengths and includes 20% Hispanic, 11% African American, and 62% Caucasian students. The variety and diversity of our students' ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds make our school very unique and creates a positive and vibrant school culture. Countryside High School has over 45 clubs and activities for students to engage in and has one of the largest civic footprints among the regions of high schools. Our Cougars are involved in civic and service projects throughout Pinellas County, gaining invaluable leadership skills while making a lasting contribution. We currently offer over 25 advanced placements courses on campus, 10 dual enrollment opportunities through St. Petersburg College, and Pinellas County Technical College. CHS offers over 15 potential industry certifications to support our students. Last year, we earned nearly 800 industry certifications in areas such as the Microsoft Business Series, Adobe Premiere and Photoshop, and cybersecurity, and many more. Our school has one of their largest AVID program enrollment in each grade level, constantly supporting the achievement of all learners. Our school-wide academic strategy this year is the AVID strategy of focused note-taking, and you will see it in all formats in our campus. Our school programming scheduling is personalized for each student at Countryside High School, and we have academic and elective offerings of all. Our visual art programs has numerous students win the prestigious Moraine Art Award exhibit and the Scholastic Art Awards in visual arts. Our theater and choral and band programs continue to excel, with our band most recently receiving first place in percussion at the Eagle Invitational, our performing arts program. Our amazing iSTEM program, magnet program, has grown over the last 12 years and currently has over 500 students enrolled. iSTEM stands for the Institute for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. iSTEM stands for students interested included in cybersecurity, digital programming, virtual reality, and augmented reality solutions, and web application development. New in 2021, we're contemplated the renewal of construction materials for engineering program to engage students in woodworking, metal and alloy work, electrical basics, and construction technology. This new strand of iSTEM program will support and enhance on experience to accompany our more computer technical courses.
We are hopeful that the iSTEM program will one day soon become a district-wide application program, as it is currently accessible for students that are zoned for the 5 North County high schools. iSTEM students are required to take one iSTEM class per year. However, they can take more if they decide to do so. Countryside continues to perform well in the athletic arena and won 3 district championships last year in track and field, soccer, and golf. We also had our girls swim and dive team as the PCAC runner-ups. Our boys track team was the PCAC champions, and we had numerous athletic teams as runner-ups in district. Countryside continues to, Countryside High School, as we have had 2 Olympic gold medalists in swimming. Our athletic program has won 13 state championships in soccer, softball, cross country, tennis, and we're hopeful to add more to the list this coming year. Thank you so much for allowing us to share a few highlights from our school. Do you have any questions for either of us?
Do you have any questions? No? Well, I thank you for being here and sharing both the academic as well as your athletic choices that you have and the successes that you have experienced.
Thanks.
So, Principal Henderson, they make you proud, don't they? Yeah, good. So, thank you very much. All right, Dr. Grego, are there any amendments to the agenda?
There are no amendments to the agenda.
Okay, board members, any items need to be pulled off the consent? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hines and a second? Second by Mr. Dudley. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. We'll now move to the first item under special agenda. It's the presentation of the proclamation designating November 1st through the 5th, 2021 as Gifted and Talented Awareness Week. Do I have a motion to adopt the proclamation? Okay, Dr. Carr and Mrs. Long, we have a second. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, it gives me great pleasure to bring this proclamation to you, and also for us to all recognize the growth and progression that we've made as a district in the area of gifted and talented education. Behind that growth is our strong leaders, and one of which is recognized in the state, Mrs. Coral Marsh, who is our gifted education specialist. So, Ms. Coral?
Just looking up here.
Madam Chairperson, board members, Dr. Grego, and staff, we are excited to bring you tonight our second proclamation for Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week in Pinellas County. Under your leadership, our Gifted and Talented program continues to grow and transform. Today, we have 10,895 learners identified as gifted in kindergarten through 12th grade. We have an additional 2,179 talented learners in elementary school, and we have around 200 gifted teachers providing services. We have part-time gifted services available to students at all of our Pinellas County schools, and additionally, we have full-time gifted services through our Center for Gifted Studies magnet programs at 3 elementary and 4 middle school sites, serving 1,836 students with full-time gifted service. The growth we have seen in the last few years is a direct reflection of the initiatives the leaders in this room and others before them have supported. Here are just a few things we should be extra proud of. We continue to universally screen all first graders, in addition to nomination screenings at all grade levels. We utilize alternative eligibility for underrepresented groups. We continue to offer and expand our talent development program for learners showing gifted characteristics. We continue to offer a gifted and talented summer camp. We were awarded a competitive 5-year, $2.4 million Javits Gifted Education Grant, much of which centers around supporting general education teachers to best meet the needs of their gifted learners. We continue to offer both part-time and full-time services, and we have expanded full-time programming to a 7th site with the addition of Johns Hopkins Middle School this year. These initiatives matter. They have changed who is identified for gifted services in Pinellas County, and they have expanded the types of services available. Through both access and support, gifted and talented learners are being served in powerful ways. So thank you, on behalf of our gifted and talented students and educators, for taking this time to celebrate and bring awareness to the dynamic gifted and talented education program in our district, and for your continued commitment to excellence for all students.
Thank you. Mrs. Kane, would you please read the proclamation?
Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week, November 1st to the 5th, 2021. Whereas, during Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week, the district shall focus on better understanding gifted and talented education, learners, educators, and advocacy. And whereas during this 1-week period, may celebrate continued commitment to dynamic gifted education within our district. Take time to reflect on how we identify gifted students to provide all with opportunities for an equitable education. And recognize the continued impact that gifted and talented education has had in our community. And whereas the goals of gifted and talented education are captured in the National Association of Gifted Children's campaign called Giftedness Knows No Boundaries, which recognizes 4 goals in the identification and support of gifted children. And whereas this effort will bring awareness to our schools, community, and around the country of our commitment to the identification, needs, and growth of our gifted and talented learners. Now therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County hereby proclaims Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week during the week of November 1st through 5th, 2021.
Very good, thank you. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Carr, a second by Ms. Long, to adopt the proclamation of designating November 1st to the 15th as Gifted Talented Awareness Week. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And it passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move down to the next one, the presentation proclaiming, let me just start all over again. The presentation of the proclamation recognizing Lights On After School on October 28th, 2021. Do we have a motion to adopt the? Thank you, Mrs. Kane.
Second.
And Mrs. Long, we have a second. All right, Dr. Grego?
Yes, this is another area, board members, that we have grown as a district, and that consists of our after-school programs. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Petit Bawa, Title I specialist, to talk and discuss with the board the Lights On After School Day, which is October 28th.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. Launched in October 2000, Lights On After School is a national event celebrating after-school programs and the important role they play in the lives of children, families, and communities. The effort has become a hallmark of the after-school movement. On Thursday, October 28th, the 22nd annual Lights On After School initiative will again highlight the remarkable work being done by scholars who attend these programs. In Pinellas County, we are very proud of all of our scholars and their after-school programs. Our district is committed to ensuring that all scholars have access to quality extended learning programs. As a district, we believe learning does not need to stop when the school day ends. So our scholars are participating in small group tutoring, online digital learning, and a variety of enrichment activities, including Battle of the Books, art, dance, coding, and STEM programs. Pinellas County has continued strong partnerships in support of after-school programs in collaboration with Pinellas Juvenile Welfare Board, Our Club Child Care, YMCA of Greater St. Petersburg, YMCA Suncoast, and the City of Dunedin. Together, these organizations work with our schools to ensure our scholars have year-round access to educational and enriching activities. Today provides us with a seamless opportunity to recognize and thank our partners. Present with us today are Desmond Newton, representing Juvenile Welfare Board, Sherry Reed, Our Club of Child Care, Barbara White, YMCA St. Pete, Beth Gittig, YMCA Suncoast. And finally, Sean Sullivan, representing City of Dunedin. In preparing the slideshow for you, with some highlights of our extended learning program, I thought about The Greatest Showman and the song A Million Dreams. But even more so, it emphasizes the importance of providing opportunities for our scholars to explore their dreams, their talents, and their passions, to enable them to make important connections between the knowledge and theory learned during the day with real-world hands-on applications. This week, organizations and programs across this county and nation will join in celebrating Lights On After School. Let's continue to keep our lights on and our doors open to fulfilling our scholar heads with the brightest colors and a million dreams for the world that they have yet to see. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Kane and a second by Mrs. Long to adopt the proclamation recognizing Lights On After School Day on October 28th, 2021. All in favor say, no, let's have you read it first. You want to adopt it without reading it? Okay, let's read it.
Lights On After School. Whereas the Pinellas County School Board stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunities because they provide safe, challenging, engaging, and fun learning experience to help children and youth develop their social, their emotional, their physical, their cultural, and their academic skills. Support working families by ensuring that their children are safe and productive after the regular school day ends. To build stronger communities by involving our students, our parents, our business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of our young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among the children, the youth, the families, and adults. And whereas all of our community after-school programs provide significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. Whereas nearly 25 million families report that they would enroll their children in an after-school program if one were available, and whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing operating challenges so severe that they are being forced to consider closing their doors and turning off their lights. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby enthusiastically endorse Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 28th, 2021.
All right, thank you. And now it's time to vote. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation for Lights On After School on October 28th, 2021. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Thank you. It passes unanimously. We made it through it. All right, so now we move to, and thank you very much. Okay, we're going to have the recognition of National School Lunch Week 2021. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, I love the theme this year, Wild About School Lunch. And so all of us have experienced school lunches, right? And so Lynn can, and her staff, and just want to say thank you. This has been a challenging year and a half, and you folks have always been out front providing food service and nutritional services to our community, beyond even our schools. So it's good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Grego.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego and staff. National School Lunch Week was celebrated the week of October 11th in over 65 schools. This was a record for us. I think folks were ready to have a little fun with the kids and relax a little bit. This year's theme, Wild About School Lunch, provided the opportunity to have fun while appealing to the students' interests in animals and nature. Created in 1962 by President Kennedy, National School Lunch recognizes the importance of healthy school meals in 100% student success, informs parents of the nutritious and delicious lunches at school, and connects the cafeterias with the teachers and their curriculum by inviting them into the learning laboratory that is the cafeteria. During these challenging times, school lunch has risen to the forefront of national attention. Pinellas County Schools Food and Nutrition Department is proud to be part of providing healthy school meals full of whole grains, Florida-grown fruits and vegetables, which are low in sodium and added sugars. All of this at no charge to our students. Even with the current uncertainty of some of the menu items arriving as scheduled, over our schools, School Lunch Heroes celebrated National School Lunch with decorations, prizes, and activities for students. I'm pleased to share an example of the school lunch with you. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Angie Heat and her team at Largo High School for preparing these meals, which can double as a dinner. Thank you. We have a turkey, bacon, and ham wrap with lettuce, tomato, and shredded cheddar cheese, fresh cucumber slices, plum, low-fat milk, and of course, a chocolate chip cookie. I would also like to recognize Ms. Tammy Ayette for organizing and arranging all of this, and Mr. Dale Beaker, who transported the meals for us. They are a reminder that not only during National School Lunch Week, but every day, we are wild about school lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, staff, and for those both watching in the audience and those on other mediums, I stand before you to recognize the 2019-2020 School Resource Officer, School Resource Deputy of the Year, the 2020-2021 School Resource Officer, School Resource Deputy of the Year, as well as the 2020-2021 School Safety Officer or Guardian of the Year. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge those who were not selected. Because of the number of officers and deputies and school safety officers and guardians that we have, there were a number who were nominated for this award. And on the monitors, you will see a list of all these nominees. So selecting a few persons from over 200 very important and capable people was very difficult. Each of the nominees will receive a certificate of nomination, which has been signed by Dr. Grego and myself, and I will personally be delivering those to them at their schools later this week. But I want to acknowledge the hard work of not only the award winners and the nominees, but the hundreds of persons who must be and are in place on a daily basis to ensure the safety of our students, parents, visitors, and staffs at our schools. The officers and deputies of the year will each receive a plaque as well as a service award ribbon that they can wear in a uniform as a reminder of their accomplishments and also as a possible incentive for others to attempt to emulate. The SSO or Guardian of the Year will also receive a plaque commemorating this accomplishment. Thank you all for allowing me an opportunity to recognize them. So the first individual is not here, but I would like to take this opportunity because due to the pandemic, we were unable to properly recognize the 2019-2020 School Resource Officer of the Year in person. And we're not able to do that today either. But it is an honor and a privilege to finally acknowledge the outstanding service of retired St. Petersburg Police Officer Lyric Board, formerly of Lakewood High School, as the 2019-2020 School Resource Officer of the Year. Officer Board served the students of Pinellas County for many years as an officer role model at the St. Petersburg Police Athletic League, and then for over a decade as the School Resource Officer at Lakewood High School. Principal Aaron Savage shared how Officer Board seamlessly changed roles from a law enforcement officer to a father, a grandfather, a teacher, a counselor, a role model, and a friend. He greeted every student he encountered and knew most of them by name. He was often seen speaking with students who he could call to the side and basically sense when they needed to have a personal talk with him. He carried a reputation of respect and possessed a caring attitude towards the students he was tasked with mentoring and protecting. Having retired, Officer Board is traveling the country and enjoying his children and grandchildren. We would like to acknowledge the impacts Officer Lyric Board has had on the many students at Lakewood and congratulate him on a job well done. I had an opportunity to present Officer Boyd with his plaque at Tarpon Springs at a training that we had over the summer, and unfortunately he was unable to be here. But I am so proud and happy that Officer Benson D. McCulligan is here. And Benson, if you would join me up here, and you can bring your family if you like. Okay. They don't need to see me, they need to see you all. Come on. With Benson is his mother, Rose, okay, also his dad, Ben, and his wife, Lauren. I also need to recognize Principal Asia Hawthorne for her nomination, and also Sergeant Cassidy Perry, along with my very good friend, Chief Michael Hayworth in the back. If you all would stand and be acknowledged. Thank you all for being here for the support. So as you all can see the smile on Officer D. McCulligan's face, he is known affectionately by his students and by the staff as Officer D-Mac. So the 2020-21 School Resource Officer of the Year is Pinellas Park Police Officer Benson D. McCulligan of Morgan Fitzgerald Middle School. Officer D. McCulligan, affectionately known as Officer D-Mac by the students and staff, has been a member of the Fitzgerald Middle School Phantom family for 3 years. Prior to becoming the school resource officer, he served and excelled as building relationships with the youth in the community and served as a police explorer coordinator for the Pinellas Park Police Department. Being nominated by Principal Asia Hawthorne, she noted Officer D-Mac makes himself available to parents, students, and faculty alike, and does so with a loving touch. She characterized him as the ultimate phantom. He is present, but he is not. He appears when he needs to be, but blends in when he doesn't. That's pretty cool, being a phantom like that. The trust and the relationships he's established with the students and staff lends well to this trait. He understands the varying roles he must perform and utilizes his likable personality to be very effective on campus. He is described and I know this personally to be true, to possess the characteristics of patience, consideration for others, outstanding judgment and leadership, and a down-to-earth, humble attitude. Although if you call him, you may hear SRO of the Year, Officer D. McCulligan, on his voice machine, which you should be proud of, and I'm proud of you as well. Y'all please assist me in acknowledging Officer D. McCulligan as the 2020-2021 School Resource Officer of the Year. And with that, I'm going to provide him with this plaque that, if y'all would like to see that, for his accomplishments, and we hope that you would display this very well and prominently in your office. We also have a certificate of nomination for you, and want to acknowledge you for that as well. And finally, with the permission of Chief Hayworth, we have an award pin, which basically an award ribbon that Officer D. McCulligan would be able to wear on his uniform that will remind him that he is the School Resource Officer of the Year for this year, but he would always be a School Resource Officer of the Year. And hopefully this will be something that your peers can emulate and follow behind your great reputation and your great example that you set for them. So congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, bring your family up, and we're going to get a picture of all of you together.
Chief, you want to come on?
Chief Williams, would you like to join the picture?
Come on.
Chief, come on up.
And, yeah. Come on down. Good, perfect. Smile pretty. Very good.
Thank you. Next is School Safety Officer Brian Dunn. As Dr. Grego mentioned, when we started this program, as you all know, back in 2018 and 2019 school year, we had to make sure that we had an armed person on each one of our campuses, and that meant that we had to go out and find upwards of over 80 individuals to go out and perform that task. And I'm very happy to say that not only do we meet that mandate at the time, we continually meet that mandate on a daily basis. And what I found is that we have, when we initially thought that the program was coming around, that there would be a great deal of turnover. But I can tell you that the individuals that we've selected through the work of retired Major Hope Cruz and Major Cheryl Johnson, we've selected a really, really good group of people. And someone rising to that top is School Safety Officer Brian Dunn. Brian, can you join me up front, please?
Chief.
All right. School safety officers and guardians are a very important component of the school district and law enforcement's partnership in keeping our students, staff, and parents safe. It is a pleasure to acknowledge the inaugural recipient of the School Safety Officer Guardian of the Year Award for 2020-2021, who is Officer Brian Dunn of Perkins Elementary School. As you know, for the 2018-2019 school year, we were tasked with having an armed person on each of our campuses. We have met and continue to meet this requirement. In the process, we have brought on a group of well-trained and dedicated individuals. SSO Brian Dunn has demonstrated through his hard work and dedication that he is one of the best. Principal Laurel Cranswell, who is in the back. Laurel, can you stand up, be acknowledged, please? And your entire Perkins, Principal Cranswell and the entire Perkins Elementary family nominated SSO Dunn, and he has been recognized as the first SSO to be named SSO/Guardian of the Year. SSO Dunn demonstrates positive professional interactions with the students and with the staff, from demonstrating citizenship to showing them how to fold and raise the flag and lower the flag, to thwarting dangerous situations as far as locating a weapon and taking the proper stance of ensuring that the students and staff were safe. He also watches a student because her grandfather can't walk the distance to the school to pick her up. He actually watches to make sure the student's able to meet up and cross the street and meet her grandfather on a daily basis. He demonstrates a really, really good attitude as far as an individual who has had an opportunity to go to a school that's closer to his home. And he drives well over an hour and a half to get to Perkins Elementary, but when offered an opportunity to get closer to his home, he is so dedicated to the students at Perkins and the relationships that he's built, he refuses to change schools at this point. So I'm very thankful for that.
So are we.
Again, if y'all would please help me recognize SSO Dunn for being the inaugural 2020-2021 School Safety Officer Guardian of the Year. Congratulations. Principal Cranswell, you want to come up?
Yeah. Do you have any other family or anybody with you? Okay, then you and the principal.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Chief Williams will get in there, too, yeah. There you go.
And finally, I think my 3 minutes are almost up. As I close, please allow me to take an opportunity. This is the fourth opportunity that I've had to name a school resource officer of the year, and it's hard to believe that it's been 4 years. But since we've given out award ribbons, I'd like to present a ribbon each to Sergeant Michael Hawkins and to Sergeant William Connell, who were also former school resource officers of the year. So if y'all come forward and get these things. Sergeant Connell from Lellman Innovation and Sergeant Hawkins from Distant Academy. Congratulations. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations to all of you. And thank you for what you do to make sure that our children are safe. We appreciate you more than you know. All right, we'll now move to public comment. Do we have any speakers on agenda items?
We have one more.
Oh, golly, what is wrong with me today?
Sorry.
Okay. 4.5. We are going to recognize the people that I said we were going to hear from later. The recognition of the Pinellas County 2022 Principal Achievement Awards for Outstanding Leadership and the 2022 Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award. So, Dr. Grego?
Yeah, Dr. Gonzalez is going to recognize our recipients that the video did an excellent job of introducing them to the board and to the public. So,
welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. October is National Principal Month. As you just saw earlier in the video, Pinellas County Schools would like to recognize and celebrate Miss Suzanne Hester, principal of Skyview Elementary School, as Pinellas County Schools 2022 Principal Achievement Award winner for outstanding leadership. Ms. Hester has been in education for 38 years and has been the leader of Skyview Elementary since 2012. Pinellas County Schools would also like to recognize and celebrate Ms. Dawn Lewis, Assistant Principal of Bay Point Elementary School, as Pinellas County Schools 2022 Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award winner. Ms. Lewis has been in education for 21 years and has been the Assistant Principal at Bay Point Elementary School since 2018. These two recipients will be representing Pinellas County Schools at the state level in their respective award categories. Please join me in recognizing these two outstanding school leaders.
Dr. Grego,
Yes.
school board, and my Area 4 Superintendent, Mike Vigue, thank you. What an honor to be the Principal of the Year for Pinellas County Schools. Pinellas County Schools is my school district of excellence with equity for all. These words ring true when you've experienced your superintendent, Dr. Grego, area superintendents, Mr. Kennedy, Ms. Wright, and Mr. Vigue, and an abundance of specialized district educators who have supported my leadership growth. I give testimony of this leadership experience as principal at Skyview Elementary for 10 years as of this May. Because of your willingness, effort, and hard work, you allowed me as a principal to be creative, innovative, and focused on providing quality, standards-based, grade-level teaching and learning while building positive relationships with staff, students, parents, and community members. Over almost 10 years, you have, to only name a few, approved renovations and improvements for a beautiful Skyview campus. Some people say they feel like they're at a 5-star hotel when they come to our school. An opportunity to hire well-trained teachers and mentoring programs in place. Thank you, Paula Textel. A continuous, high-quality professional development training program that hits it hard during the summer as we all prepare for our new teaching and learning season. A summer teaching and learning program for students to solidify learning to successfully bridge to the next school grade. Title I resources to supplement students' grade level acceleration, accompanied by computers for all students to learn at home. Safety, immediately repairing our roof and classrooms after Hurricane Ida. Safety and SSO after the Marjorie Douglas tragedy, and 21st century safety measures in place. Safety when COVID struck. My PCS team went into triage. We pivoted to virtual teaching and learning in a week. Thank you, Kevin Hendrick and your team, equipping all PCS students and families with computers and support on how to use computers at home to learn. Thank you, Laurie Matway. When courageously returning to face-to-face and simultaneous teaching and learning, we did so supplied with masks, sanitizers, and plexiglass galore. The monumental efforts made by my PCS team for our students and families enables Skyview Elementary to not only hold on to our school grade of a B, but to gain 28 percentage points. Today, we are 26 percentage points away from an A. CARE, my PCS partnered with the health department to prioritize COVID vaccines for the most senior. I was first in line. Instilling a PCS growth mindset, believing that effort and not inherent skill, intelligence, and talent will result in success. Training on Tier 1 PBIS and restorative practices. Thank you, Mrs. Wright. Restoring students back into their learning communities each and every day so no instructional time on learning is lost. Regular instructional support specialist walkthroughs, providing glow and grows. The district art curb appeal department, providing Patriot, our eagle, to showcase Skyview and the Pinellas Park community with the opportunity to teach our eagles how to become American citizens. Multiple opportunities to team with our parents through parent-family interactive engagement programs. Most of all, you acknowledge our effort, hard work, and celebrate our successes. With my cup overflowing from my Pinellas County Schools leadership team, I can, in return, grow my Eagle team, staff, students, and parents. I promise, as Pinellas County Schools Principal of the Year, to continue to serve with an overflowing cup of kindness and love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board, Dr. Grego, and all of the people here in this room that have supported me thus far. And I just want to say thank you so much for letting me follow her. It's always the place of the AP to bring up the background. So I'm really proud to, and I loved hearing all those things. But I have to tell you that I've come here and I want to be a little bit selfish when I address you, because I want to say thank you on a very personal level. I want to say thank you from the little girl that you took me in at 5 years old at Bowder Elementary, who may not have had the opportunities and the eloquent nature that you may have seen today for our students. But because of the things that Pinellas County has put into me, and the things that I have seen and I've grown, and the things that I've experienced through Pinellas County, I am standing here today, and to be thought of as something in this great acknowledgement, I just want to say thank you, because there is really a testimony in the road that got me here. First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing students like me the opportunity to grow. A student that may not have the opportunity to have a lot of extracurricular activities or a lot of home support and things like that. still I thrived. Even into college, I was able to come into Pinellas County Schools as a student teacher and be able to see great things, see people that actually taught me, and say, guess what? Guess who wants to be a teacher? And I was there. And then to go on to be a leader amongst a plethora of leaders. I look to leaders every single day to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing, thank you for caring, thank you for being there for me to lean on or for me to just bounce something against the wall with. The other day when they came to my school, Dr. Grego, Dr. Corbett, they came into my office and not expecting company, but he closed the door and I showed them, they're there, you might as well show them, my why wall. And my why wall is something that's in the back of my door and has all of my family, because there's sometimes when we come to those situations during the day, you have to close the door for a minute just to remember why you push. And I push for kids like me. I push for people like you that have worked your whole life to make it better for students. And my why, you are my why. Why am I here? Who knows? But I know that I am here to continue your greatness. I'm here to say thank you. I'm here to be amongst the great leaders. And just know that just this accolade has bolstered my enthusiasm to continue what I do, to get even better at it, to shine even brighter at state, at level, but right down there in the southernmost, because they just came and got me and pushed me way to the end of the county because they wanted me to see the whole thing. I'm going to shine there because those 500 and some kids down there, they need the light, and we're going to give it to them, whatever it takes. So I thank you for this accolade. I thank you for the success that you have provided in me, and I thank you just from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to be here with you today. Thanks.
There you go. Thank you. Good. There we go.
Do it. Do it.
Thank you. Yeah, that gives you a little bit of an indication as to why these two are being honored today. They're doing a fantastic job, and the enthusiasm and excitement is just fills the air, and I'm sure it fills their schools every day that they're there. So thank you, and congratulations. Now we're going to go to public comment on agenda items. Do we have any speakers?
Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Grego, we have 4 speakers for agenda items.
Okay. Members of the public have 3 opportunities to address the board when we gather for meetings. The first opportunity is to speak during public comment on agenda items. The next opportunity is where there's a public hearing, most of which are policies. And lastly, after the meeting is adjourned, we will remain for public participation when speakers may address items pertaining to the business of the district. In each of these opportunities for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for discussion or debate. We will not take any formal action on information brought forward unless it is pertaining to an agenda item. However, the board and the superintendent may clarify statements or refer the speakers to the proper staff person to help them work through. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in the conduct of our meetings. Whether you agree or disagree with viewpoints expressed by speakers, please refrain from showing audible support or disagreement. We also ask that you assist us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment by confining your comments to the business of the district and refrain from profanity or intemperate or rude remarks. Thank you. Mrs. Houck, would you like to call the speakers, please?
Yes, ma'am. Our first two speakers are Renee Chia and Mark Clutho.
And we're calling them two at a time so you can come to each of the lecterns and be prepared to speak as soon as the next person completes. Good evening.
Good evening. New microphones. Is this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm speaking to agenda item 7.8. Good evening, comrades. For those of you who don't know, agenda item 7.8 is 100 pages of job descriptions being proposed with some significant changes. Job descriptions with little or no changes are things like nutritionist, maintenance worker, etc. Job descriptions that are being overhauled are for principal, assistant principal, and administrative type positions. Across the board, these are being altered to reduce the amount of experience required for the position and institute a requirement for, in quotes, successful completion of a training program consistent with the district's principal pipeline requirements, example, National Institute for School Leaders, NISL, or a commitment to complete such program in a specified time frame. So what is a principal pipeline? I looked up the NISL, which is provided by the National Center on Education and the Economy, or NCEE. I'm curious if any of you read this site. The people changing your job descriptions did, which I'm willing to bet includes your equity program comrades. Remember last meeting when I discussed logical fallacies? If the premise of a theory is flawed at its base, that makes everything that follows fallacious, as it is based on incorrect information. If you go to the NCE website and click on the blueprint for this entire site, theory, and training, here's what you'll find. The basis for this is from data collected and compared across countries. I'm not even going to go into the skewed testing process that I looked at as well, but you should read it. The predetermined conclusion they are trying to support is what education system is the best and which country is the high-performance leader every other country should try to emulate. The conclusion of the writer is resoundingly China, Korea, and other communist countries. The author justifies the need to dramatically reimagine and transform the American school system into a structure like a Ministry of Education, whose authority is absolute in regards to the money, the curriculum, and training of a pipeline of teachers and administrators like a hierarchy in this indoctrination system, to ensure your children are properly indoctrinated from a young age and accept what they are told. The idea is to literally and fundamentally change the structure of the school system to align with this goal and suppress and crush any opposition to this idea. This is the slow march of communism in our school system, there's no doubt. The site even states meeting that goal will require a willingness to challenge norms, creative design thinking, and broad and deep political will. It states further, they also study the changing nature of work, society, and life and ensure that their systems can adapt to a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous future, maintaining political will for these dynamic changes. The overall goal is to simultaneously enable long cycle planning and careful implementation of complex policies over decades. This is what the site says. I urge you to vote against this and stop the march towards communism. I promise to oppose you in every way possible, and I promise you will never be a Ministry of Education. I will see you dismantled entirely before I support a totalitarian regime in our school system. I will be watching your vote to see what you support, community and parent collaboration, or are we in a winner-takes-all ideological war? I'm prepared for either. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you.
Mark Clutho, Largo.
Good evening.
712. $9 million. That's the total figure. And your strategic direction, learning in a safe environment. Not the highlight, modify the HVAC system. You still have a stupid building. 714, strategic direction. Effective and efficient use of resources. This is so Duke can put more electricity there. How do you figure? Doesn't make sense. 715, the substantial completion for mechanical work, the chiller, and pump replacement. And you say strategic direction, learning in a safe environment. How does that figure? Well, we get back to the cause and effect. All three of these. What do we have now? Earth's carbon dioxide levels at highest level in 4 million years. And the article in the paper talking about the 1921 hurricane. Ada showed how little the region has learned in 100 years. Tampa Bay isn't ready for a major storm. We have major infrastructure in harm's way. Our recent developments in the past 2 decades do not take storms into account. I fear the day it happens again. Well, we're talking about the Pinellas schools. And here we have July was Earth's hottest month on record, NOAA says. And here's this one from USA Today. Report, flooding puts U.S. infrastructure at risk. And of course, this area is mentioned. Well, it's bad news. Bad news. And you just keep going in the wrong direction. Not the high-performance passive solar direction that will fix things.
Thank you.
The next two speakers are Angela Dubach, speaking to agenda item 7.11, and Sweet, speaking to 7.2, 7.8, 7.10, and 7.11.
Hello, I'm Angela Dubell with Moms for Liberty, and I'm speaking on 7.11. Do you need the bid number? The bid number? 22-2-097-PS/CM. And I did email Mr. Kapersky and the board about this item. It's IXL Learning, the digital curriculum. And thank you for your reply, but it didn't answer my question, because when I was reading this, the contract, I was confused because I couldn't find this COPA form that is required to be signed by parents if their child is 13 or under. Privacy. If you are a school, district, or teacher, you acknowledge and agree that you are responsible for complying with COPA, meaning that you must obtain advance written consent from all parents or guardian whose children under 13 will be accessing the website and services, and you represent and warrant that you have obtained that consent. When obtaining consent, you must provide parents, guardians with our privacy policies. You are to keep all consents on file and provide them to us if we request them. And you replied to my email, but you didn't answer that question because I couldn't find the form anywhere on the Pinellas County School website. And I asked some teachers and I asked some other parents, and they had no idea what I was talking about. So I know you probably can't, respond to me now, but if you could reply back to my email how to maybe find the form and make sure that parents know about this. Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Good evening.
Some wrong numbers were put on there. It was also 7.8 in there, so I do know
Yes.
that I have the. Does it start when I'm trying to tell you the
No,
things?
we've got it. We've got 7.8.
No, I know. I mean, like, does my time start when I'm
Yes.
just trying to? I didn't realize that, but that's wonderful. Okay, I guess I'm talking about the consent of the approval of the minutes last week, just because as a parent, we're not approving the fact that vote was not called a vote. And I'm also talking about the creation and the revision of the jobs descriptions. You just heard her talk about the fact that, people with less experience are being called in, but as long as they're taking this kind of training, but I'm also not agreeing with the financials in you know, what you're paying even for the training that's going on at Pinellas Park High, and then next month at another high school with the $20 an hour for the culturally relevant teaching, and the bids that you have going through with Avid and all of that. You know, as a person of color, it's really awkward that more people of color are calling that into question than I guess what you would say people of not color. You know, I don't want to just say white people, because even that is just a broad statement. But this money that's going in and everything that gets approved, even for the end of this financial statement, I'm thinking about the financials that went into the fact that a COVID class or a Spanish class just got interrupted for another person to come in and teach about vaccines and COVID and how dangerous it is, and that's interrupting a Spanish class. And I'm thinking about how these people are getting paid and where out of the budget that's coming from. And I'm thinking about the money that you guys got extra for COVID, but then you keep asking for more. And I'm thinking about the job descriptions where you're hiring equity managers, but you have your bus drivers coming in asking for more, either more hours or more pay, but they're getting, you know, they got that $1,000 bonus finally after the whole pandemic in July. They finally got that, but that's a stopgate. That's not anything to help them. So, you know, we see all of these financials going to creating new jobs, or, you know, and I know it's great to recognize people, but even wasting money on, you know, awards and all that other stuff when we're really supposed to be in the middle of this emergency, I'm just trying to figure out where that's at. You know, where these cuts are coming from. But then all of a sudden we're being told that our public comment at the end isn't going to be broadcasted. And I'm like, does that even cost any money to keep a camera on YouTube? Why is that being cut? So you've got all of these approvals going on, but yet our public comment's going to be cut and nobody's going to be able to see that. And people that can't come, you're just disenfranchising that, or people that don't have cars that can't take a bus
This
here.
is not on the agenda. You need to stick to agenda items.
That's
please.
happening too, but it's not even any kind of financials or anything, but things are happening where we don't have any say. And even when we come and ask about these, it's still no say. So our voice keeps getting shut down. So we have no option but to come to a public place where we know everybody will be, or like I said, a grocery store, to voice our concerns because of the way that everything is going. It's just, we know that you're afraid because that's why we're getting shut down.
Thank you.
There are no other speakers.
No other
for
speakers to agenda items? All right. Do we have any discussion? No, all righty. So our next item is our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept? Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Hine to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, and Ms. Edmond for the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. And it passes unanimously. We'll now move to non-consent. It's the request approval of the 2022-2023 instructional calendar and special observance days. Do we have a motion to accept? That, Ms. Kane? All righty. We have a motion with Ms. Kane. Second, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Long. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and board members, I so appreciate the conversation we had, in fact, last Tuesday on this, and the committee that I'm sure Ms. Texel and Mr. Richmond will describe, but I want to thank all of the committee members for dedicating their time and also going back to their constituents and having discussions about it, and the pluses and minuses of establishing what I always emphasize is an instructional calendar. And this calendar, I know, has pluses and minuses like any calendar does, but our first and foremost job is to create an instructionally sound calendar. So Ms. Texel, if you could present this calendar to the board. And board, thank you for your valuable input over the last several weeks and months.
Good. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego and staff. I, along with Dave Richmond, our managing officer for payroll, are here to present the recommendations for the 22-23 instructional calendar and special observance days. I'm kind of glad we're getting off of the 2020, 21, so we can say 22-23 school year. A calendar committee that was representative of parents, teachers, instructional staff, support staff, various community members met on 2 occasions in September to develop the instructional calendar for the 22-23 school year. And as Dr. Grego mentioned, these members then went back and solicited input from their stakeholder groups to then share at the second meeting that we had at the end of September. So in your packets, the proposed calendar includes, I just want to go over a few of the highlights for the calendar for that year. A school start date for instructional staff on Monday, August 1st, 2022, and for students on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. There will be 7 days of pre-planning for our 10-month teachers. There's a Thanksgiving break. We do this from Saturday to Sunday, so Saturday, November 19th through Sunday, November 27th. A winter break from Saturday, December 24th through Monday, January 8th of 2023. But I also wanted to note that it is a non-student day on December 23rd. And this does allow for our source a lot of things. And if I could, before I answer that, I want to go back to Mrs. Long and what she had mentioned about Veterans Day. And I did want to let everyone know that our teaching and learning department has put together a fabulous toolkit to support schools for Veterans Day. Lots of great ideas, suggestions. I was looking through that. I think even handouts and things for the kids to color and think they really did put together a really good handout or packet. So I did want to mention that as recognition for that. In regards to our instructional calendar and the winter break, and we really stress to have, you know, the perfect storm or the perfect world is that it's 90-90. That was great. We have calendars that have been 87, 93 before. There were a lot of things that went into this discussion around the winter holiday. And even when we come back, had it been, if we had gone out the week early, we do run into the the New Year holiday and the recognized New Year holiday and how to work in those calendar days as well. So, you know, had we done the entire week before, we still would have needed to be out probably the next 2 days coming back, starting back on Wednesday. That could lend itself to issues as well. It's really just a give and take. We also did review our neighboring calendars, neighboring districts' calendars, and we know some of those are on par for this. And so we also know you know, we don't base our calendar on neighboring, but it's good to communicate and to be on those same breaks because that could lead to also some confusion and so forth. Again, we have the capability to tweak a few days here and there. It's just how it was going to roll out was not going to really fit. And we did have that discussion, I think, early on, and the majority of the committee that was probably something most people were in agreement on the calendar of that when that winter break happened. So yes, we had some flexibility, but what it does on the end of the holiday too had some issues there with that we didn't want to make it a 3-week break.
There are still a certain number of days you have to have in each semester.
Absolutely.
And
We really, it is really that 3 or so. 4 could be pushing it, but Dr. Vasquez, who heads up our high school, provided a lot of good information in the needs to, as close as we can to 90-90, balance it out is the best case scenario for our classes.
Very good. Any other comments? I'm going to thank Mrs. Long for serving on the committee and for both of you for heading it up. And as I said in the workshop, Dave Richmond has to figure out our instructional calendar, and then he has to figure out the 235-day calendar for those people that are working. So it sounds like an easy thing, but it's a tremendous task. And I appreciate both of you doing it, as well as everyone else who served on the committee. So thank you very much. Okay, if there are no other comments, we have a motion made by Mrs. Kane and a second by Mrs. Long to approve the 22-23 instructional calendar and special observance days. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we'll now move down to items introduced by the superintendent.
Yeah, Madam Chair and school board members, I know in our last workshop, we had an extensive conversation about the Tomlinson Adult Center and the work that's being done there. I'd like to ask Mark Hunt, Mr. Mark Hunt, who is the Executive Director of our Career, Technical, and Adult Education, just to give the public an overview for this, because Mark has met personally with the staff and with the community. As you've instructed, I've met and discussed the thought with Mayor Kreisman too, and he's very supportive and understood, and whatever he could do, he certainly will. So maybe let Mark just discuss it one more time in the public, and so that we're being extremely transparent on it.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Grego.
Good evening.
Good evening. As we discussed at the board workshop, adult education is to serve our adult ed population, and that population moves around within the district, changing residents, changing jobs, things like that. And that population, we know, is mobile. In this particular case at Tomlinson, there has been a significant transition of our adult ed population and movement away from the Tomlinson building to other areas of the county that we serve through other satellite centers and adult ed centers. the decline in enrollment at Tomlinson got to a point where it was fiscally irresponsible to maintain the instructional program in that building because we were not serving the adult population effectively. So this move is a move of resources, instructional resources, to locations within the county that the adult population has need. We will continue to monitor the adult population and the needs and grow adult education as the enrollment and the interest by adults dictates. We are moving, as mentioned, we're moving more toward a model where we utilize our school buildings that are already in neighborhoods and communities, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, for evening adult education coursework. That way, the parents of our students, possibly in elementary school, they're comfortable and familiar with that school, it's in their neighborhood, and we can set up an adult education class to serve that population. By being nimble in this fashion, it's going to help us serve our community more effectively.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Any questions, follow-up from our workshop with the board? I'm excited about this because I'm looking at what Mr. Hunt's doing by bringing some of the programs into our local high schools where parents and former graduates actually are able to access. And we see numbers will actually grow in this particular area. So thank you very much. Any other comments from the board before I move on?
Yep, Dr. Carr?
Thank you. And we had some preliminary or some questions. Well, there were some questions around the historical status of the building and issues that may arise from preservation or that area being designated. And that was a question I had asked at workshop. I'm not sure if we've had any follow-up with that.
Yeah, Mr. Herbeck. I mean, let me for the sake of the audience, for the public. So Mark is Mr. Hunt's working with the programmatic aspect of it, and then Mr. Herbeck will take a look at the actual building and what we do with that building.
So as far as the historic designation of the building itself, it is not designated as a historic building in the city of St. Pete. It's actually designated in a separate category. It's known as potentially eligible. So it is potentially eligible to become a historic building, but it has not been designated as such. So there are, different ways that the owner can approach dealing with that building. The area itself, Mirror Lake, I do know that there was an initiative to name the entire area an historic area, and that has not yet been finished with the city.
Thank you. That it? All right, Mrs. Edmond?
Thank you, Mr. Hunt and Mr. Herbeck. Can you briefly share the timeline or what has to happen in order for it to be declared surplus? Because there's some misinformation.
And Mr. Hunt, I believe, has shared already that the plan is to move out and have the building, the programs relocated by January.
Yes, our timeline, we've notified all the faculty and staff. Full-time staff have selected alternate locations within adult ed to be relocated effective January 3rd when we return from winter break. Students are being provided assistance with registering for other locations effective January 4th when students return, with the idea that the instructional program at Tomlinson in the Tomlinson building will cease when we go to winter break and begin again at new locations when we return in the January term. An important piece of information is that the adult ed fee term ends at winter break. So students that have paid fees would be able to finish their fee term where they had paid the fees to attend and then start a new fee term in January. So that's for adult ed, that is an important metric to consider. So that's the instructional program timeline. After January, we expect needing some time to remove furniture and equipment, instructional materials, and appropriately place those where they're needed. We're anticipating through the month of January needing that time to make that transition, and then the instructional program would be out of the building.
So then to follow up with the facility side of that, I think, again, maybe some people who have come here from other states and other areas, they may not be aware. In Florida, school districts have to ask the Department of Education for permission to build properties. We can't just build anything we want. And then once it's built, we have to make sure that we are maintaining the use of that intended property. So if we ask to build a school, the Department of Education hopefully will eventually give us permission to do so, then we have to keep using it as a school. And even down to the classrooms, we have to use classrooms the way we intended to do on the original plan. So once the movement of the programs is brought to fruition at Tomlinson, the building then is empty. It's no longer a school. We then at that point will have to go back to the Department of Education and change the use of that, because again, if it's not being used as a school, we have to report that. Right now on our facility inventory, the state has identified that we already have too many ancillary and auxiliary spaces around the district. An ancillary space, just to give you a little bit of background, might be something like a bus garage, an office building, a warehouse, things like that. Auxiliary spaces could be, again, office spaces, libraries, other spaces other than classrooms and other than school use. We already have an excess of that, so it'd be very difficult for us to go to the state and ask to have the building changed into either of those two functions and for them to approve that, because again, we know very well that we have a surplus of that. So with no immediate need for the facility right now, or no immediate, or I should say no use in the foreseeable future, our recommendation would be to declare Tomlinson what's called a C3 school, meaning C meaning it's closed for reason number 3, and it's defined in the SRAF handbook as a school that has had declining enrollment or programs removed to another location. So it fits perfectly with what has happened with the building itself. Once we get to the C3 status, and to go back to your timeline question, again, we would let the school close. We would let those programs relocate. I would suspect that we would identify or put in a request with the state probably sometime late January or February on a spot survey that would come to you. And to make that declaration, I would think the state would take several weeks, maybe a month or so, to confirm that, which then takes us some time to maybe March or April, where we could then, my recommendation then again would be to come to you with a resolution to put the facility up for sale. Again, if we have no use for it now, no foreseeable use, and we already know that we would run into difficulty declaring it as an alternative use site, then, again, best recommendation would be put up for sale. Those funds then could be returned to capital outlay, and those funds would be then reinvested back into another school. In fact, they could be reinvested back into some of the high schools or career and technical education centers that Mr. Hunt has already talked about to improve those sites.
All righty, fine. Ms. Hine?
Thank you. Mr. Hunt, do you know how long Tomlinson has been active as an adult learning center in Pinellas County Schools?
Close to 100 years.
Wow.
It's in the 19-teens is when it began its life as a school building.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful building. But unfortunately, the adult ed population just is not
Has
there to
shifted.
support a full program.
I just wanted to mention, I heard from a few people in our community about this change, and I guess what I want to honor is that when a building has been in our community for a long time, and then when people have worked in that building day in and day out for so many years, and they receive news like this, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, change is hard on all of us. So I think hearing the reasons, understanding about the demographic shifting and this, and we can repurpose and we can move and declining, and so we can all do that analytical stuff in our minds, and thus in our workshop when we discussed it, thought, yes, this is the right thing to do. And I'm just right now speaking to honor those that I know are sad and that I know are feeling like, oh, where did this come from? And it feels like a big change, and it is a big change. So I just want to acknowledge that. I'm sure you're working with your staff. I'm sure there'll be some kind of celebration or honoring and doing the move. It's fast. That's amazing that we're able to move those programs that quickly. But you know, buildings and the way we design them and build them and house them and live in them, I mean, it affects our working environment. It affects everything. I have great respect for them. So we will miss this building, and I know those who have been working in it will miss it as well.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dudley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I might throw in here that right adjacent to Tomlinson, across
St. Peter.
on a diagonal, is a wonderful housing complex or building that at one time was St. Petersburg High School. And it was also Mirror Lake Junior High School. And they've been repurposed, and it's a wonderful residence. And I think that we look at what we did with that building, and it gives some pause that perhaps maybe Tomlinson could end up in the same fate. And Tomlinson's a wonderful place, been there 100 years, but St. Pete High, you know, when they moved, it was a junior high and it was a high school. My father-in-law went to school at that St. Pete High there. And so it's I know there's a lot of angst and people worried. You know, the rumors, we're going to tear it down. Nobody knows squat right now until it becomes available. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are conjuring up different things in their mind. I would just say right now, just let's go through the process, and when it becomes available and closer we get to it, I think the integrity of the Mirror Lake area is very important. And I think that, you know, that the Mirror Lake itself used to be the city reservoir. And how do I know this? Those are one of the things you learn when you're on city council. But anyway, it's that's a wonderful area in there, and I think that I think at this juncture, it's really be careful of what you're hearing. Just let the process work its way through, and when it gets a little closer, there'll be time for further discussion. But thank you for the update and the explanation. I think hopefully that'll satisfy some people.
Good, thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. As you know, board members, the district application process is well underway. I want to recognize Director Ellen Truskowski as she hosted our Facebook, YouTube live sessions recently, had over 2,500 viewers that have looked at that information item. We had on October 19th, the Tarpon Springs High School hosted the North County District Application Fair. About 1,500 people attended there. And the last Saturday, we hosted at Largo High School. There were about the same all-county application program, and we had about 3,500 people in attendance there. About 2,500 for high schools and about 1,000 for the elementary and middle school. And we're hosting this evening. In fact, it's taking place as we speak at Northeast High School, the South County District Application program fair. New this year, we're having open houses in all of our community and neighborhood schools, and this is where parents can have the opportunity to visit a school in their community, because we all believe that community schools are a choice, and we want to provide parents and families an opportunity to go into our schools and visit it during school hours. So I want to thank the Teaching and Learning, the area superintendents, and many others that have worked to orchestrate that over the next 2 months. So, and it gives our community an opportunity to go into our schools and see it in full operation too. Want to also recognize and congratulate our visual arts coordinator, Latoya Hicks, who has recently been elected by the statewide membership to the position of president-elect for the Florida Arts Education Association Board. Ms. Hicks will become president in 2 years, and I think if you remember, Sue Castleman was the last time we had a president of the state association. Also, Jonathan Ogle was elected the position of supervisor administrator in the division director. So we have, as mentioned earlier by our principal of the year, tremendous leadership across not only Pinellas County but throughout the state. And speaking about visual arts, you can certainly enjoy the student artwork at two, in particular, art centers. At the Morian Arts Center in St. Petersburg through November 28th, we're going to have 78 artworks displayed there, and a reception and award ceremony will be taking place on November 13th. I'll provide you this information for your calendars. Also, 70 artworks were created by our elementary, K through 5, will be displayed at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center through December 10th, and the awards there will be on December 5th. We're very proud of our students and our arts program. We, Bands of America, I'll stay with the performing arts now, but congratulations to Tarpon Springs Outdoor Performance Ensemble and our Seminole High School Marching Band, who finished in the top 12 in the 2021 Bands of America, the regional competition that took place on October 16th at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Tarpon Springs had the highest score of any marching band in the state of Florida. They scored in the competition, was named the champion of the region. The ensemble also won first place in Class AA, received awards for outstanding music performance, outstanding visual performance, and outstanding general effects. Congratulations to Principal Fedelides and also Mr. Kevin Ford, the director of the Leadership Conservatory. And Seminole High School finished third in the Class AAA and 8th overall. Congratulations to Principal Jane Lucas and Band Director Gerald Madrinan for their leadership and their hard work. It takes a lot of work. If you want to see these bands compete, we have, it's all on YouTube, it's all taped, and it's a remarkable thing to watch. Also left at your seat area, the partnerships for the free e-learning coaching. I'm pleased to share that we've partnered with the Pinellas Educational Foundation, and so the district's families can receive free e-learning coaching. We have a lot of technology that's being pushed out, and we want to ensure that families and others really understand with their Wi-Fi connections, whether they're by hotspot or other means, how to access the district digital resources, how to extend the help at home and school communications. So we're setting up coaches, and the foundation has helped supporting this financially. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Beyer for her continued support. You can find information about this on either our website or on the Pinellas Education website. I want to say thank you to Mark Hunt, because recently I was invited by Molly Ald to attend a breakfast, a grassroots, the Tampa Bay nonprofit organization called Project Prosper, that recognizes the achievements of refugees and immigrants into the Tampa Bay community. And they very proudly recognize our adult education ESOL program. It was represented by Jennifer Harrington the other morning, and it was just a pleasure to see and hear some of the stories of the immigrants and coming into the Tampa Bay area, and how our adult education program, as even discussed tonight, this is a perfect tie-in, really went out to meet with the clients where they're at, where they are, and not only location-wise, but where they're at in their life. So they provided the Pinellas Educational ESOL and the Adult Education ESOL department with such an honor. I also handed you at your desk area the graduation schedule. We'll discuss this more at our workshop. You can start to take a look at that. These ceremonies will take place May 19th through May 25th at a variety of venues. Primarily Tropicana Field. As you know, we have Countryside at Baycare Park and Ruth Eckerd Hall for Dunedin, and a couple of others for our EAS programs and so forth. They're clearly delineated there. And these sites will also be posted on our pcsb.org/graduations, because families will be, of our seniors will certainly be preparing for that special day. Our Coast Guard Junior ROTC program will be the second ever Coast Guard commissioned in the United States, and that'll be taking place in Pinellas Park High School. It's scheduled for November 12th. I'll place it on your calendar. I want to say thank you to Principal Brett Patterson and Mark Hunt again, and Congressman Chris for their work in bringing this Junior ROTC program for the Coast Guard into Pinellas County schools. It's going to be quite an honor, and it's quite a day that we expand our Junior ROTC program. That's also under the supervision of Mr. Hunt. That concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
Good, thank you. All right, items introduced by the school board attorney.
I have no report, thank you.
That is always a good sign. Items introduced by school board members. Are there people that have anything to share? All right, then I will. I usually wait for everyone else to. This past week, I attended the Council of Great City Schools virtual conference. It was supposed to be held in Philadelphia, but they decided that maybe it would be better if we all stayed in our locations and didn't travel, and we did it. It still was an excellent conference. There were a lot of great workshops. Several of our staff also attended, but there were also some people that presented to the Council of Great City Schools. Now, what that is that the large urban school districts, I think there were 75 large.
There's 77 now in the council.
Yeah, we voted one more in at the last board of directors. So
Thank
it
you
was
for
76 at the
recognizing our
time, it's now
presenters, because I
77.
forgot, so I appreciate your.
Yeah. But they, one of the sessions was done by Pat Wright, Keith Masterides, Russell Denton, and Ayanna George. And they shared what was happening with their civil rights tasks that they have. And I'm going to tell you, our staff did a great job. And they talked about the leadership, and they talked about the work that was done, and that type of thing. And there were a lot of questions on how did you implement it, what was going on, that were all in the chat. The student there stole the show. She spoke so eloquently, and I am not demeaning what any of y'all did, but you have to admit, she did a great job. And there were a couple of questions that were asked, and as staff was getting ready to, she said, I'll answer that. And so she shared her experiences as well. So that was a terrific experience. And then Jennifer Dahl and Teresa Price also had a workshop session that was very, very well attended. And I'm going to tell you, you guys are troopers. They tested all of the, IT before, and it was all working and everything was fine. And then when it was time, it was not working. And so they couldn't get the slides to move forward, but they knew their material so well that they just kept going as if they were seeing it, piece by piece. Then Teresa dropped off because her technology went out. So in spite of it, they continued to just roll with it and really represent Pinellas County well. And again, there were people that were saying, this is great. And we would like to get more information about what they were presenting. So thank you all for representing us so well. And it's always so nice to be able to go and share what we're doing in Pinellas County, and also hearing what other people are doing. And oftentimes it's, I'll sit in there and I'll go, we're doing that. We're doing that. Oh, we're doing that. And so, it's nice to be able to share, but it also is nice to be able to gain some things and learn some different things. They had great speakers. They had the National Teacher of the Year, and she shared both in English and in Spanish. She shared her things. Her name was Juliana Ortube, I think her name is, something like that. But anyway, she did a great job. And Henry Louis Gates Jr., the man that does Finding Your Roots, and an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, he was also one of the speakers. And so they had an opportunity to share and then ask questions. And the very last session, which was really kind of interesting, was all students. and they were sharing the things that they were feeling, things that that are important to them, things that some of them were talking about COVID and how they are kind of reacclimating, because some of them, they are just now getting back to school and just now working face to face. So it was a good experience, but I was also very proud of the people from our district that presented. So thank you all very much. Are there any other comments? Any other board members? All right. If that is the case, Dr. Corbett, do we have any requests?
No, Madam Chair, we did not record any requests tonight.
All right. So we will have our school board evaluation after we have listened to our public participation. But if there is no objection and no other business, this meeting is adjourned. All right. So we will now move on to public participation. Do we have speakers?